You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. This weekend, the Sleeping Beauty Re-awakens online in the latest Royal Winnipeg Ballet production. To learn more, RWB Artistic Director Andre Lewis and Principal Dancer Alana McCady have joined me. Hello to you both.
Hello.
Well, so glad you both joined me. And Andre, though we'd hoped against it, I think we may have all suspected that this season might come with some sort of an interruption after reigniting the Centennial Concert Hall stage with perpetual motion. The Nutcracker was cut short, and now the Sleeping Beauty returns to the online format. How does it feel to be returning to the digital stage?
Well, it's both a blessing and a difficult thing, because of course we were so happy to be back on stage in front of a live audience. It's a different mix ultimately, but we're super pleased that we were able to still do a filming from the concert hall with all of the bells and whistles that comes with Sleeping Beauty, because it's such a large, magnificent production. So I think people will have really a wonderful experience. It'll be different, but it's just as exciting. But we are still hoping that we will continue have in person in the future with Cinderella, but for now, the Omicron just made it too much of a challenge. And at the time, you kind of have to make those decisions about 2 months in advance if you're going to go ahead with live or digital. So we made the call at the time.
And that's just it. We don't have a crystal ball. And so as you know, we prepare for a reopening in just the coming weeks. Again, as you say, these decisions were made a long time ago. But what I think it speaks to is the dedication, but also the flexibility of the company to once again make this pivot to the online stage, right?
Yeah, and I big shout out to the dancers and artistic staff for rethinking the whole thing and putting it on a digital format, which is going to be beautiful.
So Alana, let's chat a little bit about that. Your experience as a principal dancer preparing for these video recordings, is it different than preparing for a performance on the stage, or do you find similarities between the two?
I find it's much different. We had a bit of experience with it last season, as everything was a filmed production, but so I kind of knew going into it what to expect, but I do find it more challenging. The days are typically much longer. Like we did about an 8-hour filming day, so it's comparatively it's way heavier than a 2 or 3 hour production that you're just doing in one shot. So that was probably the most difficult thing to prepare for, especially you just have that day to try to like nail all the shots, and you have to be prepared to repeat things. And yeah, this like takes a lot of kind of calmness, I would find. I mean, yeah, I just think it's like great that we were able to find a solution, because as Andre said, it's like a really, really beautiful production, and we were able to do it in the concert hall with these our beautiful sets and costumes. And it was difficult because when we started switching to the filmed version, Omicron was actually causing a lot of absences. So I mean, I think it's amazing that we were able to just keep adjusting to all the changes that had to be made.
Yeah, certainly. You kind of alluded to this, but I mean, typically what you do is very demanding. You make it look easy, but it's very demanding, and it's physically demanding and mentally demanding and emotionally demanding too, I'm sure. And typically you would do, one performance a night, call it, and then either have a day or a switch and roll, and then you would have a different thing. Whereas this was just a sort of 8-hour stretch. I can only imagine the strain and the added pressure that comes with that, right?
Yeah, for sure. You have to kind of like, especially my role of Aurora, like she's required throughout the whole ballet. It's not like I'll be done, at lunchtime or whatever. Like I have to kind of keep that focus up all day. And the other thing, like with live performances, is we'll often share the role with other dancers. Yeah. So you're kind of like working off of each other. You're like, oh, that person did something really cool, and that makes you kind of keep pushing towards like more things. So in this case, just having the one cast also, it's like I have to imagine the other dancers, you know, and yeah.
I guess one more thing before we get a little bit more in depth into this production. Being a classical music radio show, we've heard from plenty of instrumentalists and plenty of singers about the difference in terms of a live performance versus recorded. Like there's that magic of the moment, right? And how once it's happened, it's gone. Whereas video sees you forever. It sort of lives in perpetuity, right? Is that another added pressure for you as a dancer?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I try not to think about that too much. There's like a reward to having this moment captured, you know, forever, but it is also pressure.
Yeah, I'm sure that it is. And what about for you, Andre, as someone who oversees this entire production? Where do you look? Do you look at the stage? Do you look at the screen? Do you where does your eye go as this is going on?
Yeah, I primarily looked at the stage. Tara Birthwhistle, the associate, was more invested in the direction and finding which camera needed to be where for the purpose. There were 5 cameras there. It's just a different pressure, but for me, it was important with Caroline Gruber, who was the person who was responsible for the ballet, to make sure that we had each of the sections done correctly and artistically valid, of course. But it's, you know, both live and in virtual have their strengths also, you know, because as you say, this will live forever, as some ballets we've done in the past will continue to live forever. So it's exciting in that sense. I remember filming Romeo and Juliet in Toronto, I don't know, 50 years ago, I guess, or something of that nature. And I'm proud of the fact we did this, but they were long days, and there's only so many times you can repeat the same movement. I can't make Alana do her variation 10 times. You know, it's just different. So there's more pressure on the artists that way to make sure, because they know the shelf life of a specific solo, you can only do it, let's say 3,
which the RWB has done over the last year or so. Swan Lake, and then Nutcracker, and now Sleeping Beauty. Andre, tell us what you find special about the Sleeping Beauty.
Well, I absolutely adore the music. I think what Galina Yordanova did with the choreography, and then it was also added with Anna Marie Holmes, and then Caroline restaged some of the sections of it. But it's a beautiful ballet, and it speaks to the beauty that the art can represent and the soul of the dancers, and all. I absolutely adore the prologue. I think that's such a momentous moment there when they're all dancing together. And I have to add that Alana is absolutely right. I mean, for a while, we weren't sure even if we were going to be able to film this, because if there are too many that have Omicron, but we were actually, knock on wood, fairly fortunate that way, that only few, but it was every day, it was always somebody different that had to miss for a couple of days or something of that nature. But yeah, it is. I mean, I love Swan Lake and I love Nutcracker. So, I mean, Tchaikovsky was a star, in my opinion. What he created with Petipa and Ivanov, and what Galina replicated in Sleeping Beauty and Swan Lake, and Nutcracker also. So, and she's a real Monty.
Alana, you're no stranger to Tchaikovsky. You've been with the company for over a decade now. As you said, you'll be dancing, or I guess did dance technically, because it's been recorded, but you'll be performing as Aurora. How did it feel to re-enter the world of Sleeping Beauty, which was last done in 2018?
I'm always thrilled when we come back to ballets that I've done. So far in my career, I haven't actually been able to like repeat roles too much. Like it's just kind of starting for me. So this was an exciting opportunity, because I did Aurora for the first time in, I guess it was 2018. And now I got to reprise it. So yeah, that's always exciting, because you are a more mature dancer, and you just like know more after being on stage and what you would do again in the future. And so it's like really exciting to get to take that on again, and also like find out, yeah, like how you've changed, and just things that have developed in your own dancing and character and all this stuff.
Alana, when you're talking about returning to a role and then finding new nuggets, new things to dive into, was there anything in particular that really stood out for you about the role of Aurora and reprising it here?
I think I found this time, I really, really felt that I understood that each act, Aurora was very different. Like I think it's one of the most technical roles for a classical ballerina. So the first time I did the role, I think the huge thing was just tackling all the technical elements. And this time I felt that the technical things are still, like, of course, hard, but I really felt that I just naturally like understood each act and how she was growing and at a different stage, and she had different things to bring to the character, and that was really fun for me. I didn't really like find it out on purpose. It just kind of felt like it sunk in.
Yeah, it sort of reveals itself as you explore the role more, and audiences are just going to have to watch you on that journey and watch the RWB production. I'm sure it is going to be stunning. Once again, reuniting with Frank Digital, as you mentioned, Andre, 5 cameras, all sorts of angles, wide, tight, jibs. It seems like everything is going to be there. So what a production! And thank you both for taking the time to chat with me today at Classic 107.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.